Welcome everyone to the Coaster Spot, and this is Alex, and today we're going to talk about two family coasters coming to the Central Florida market and also a refurbishment to a classic up in Virginia. Let's start with the two family coasters. They are going to be from Bolliger and Maveyard. First going to SeaWorld Orlando is going to be Penguin Trek, a B&M family launch coaster. And then what we'll talk about first is Phoenix Rising, a B&M family inverted coaster. While Penguin Trek is going to be a prototype, first of its kind, a family inverted coaster is actually something that goes back to 2014 and then again in 2018 in China. Both of them are clones of each other and a very near copy to Freedom Flyer at Fun Spot America in Orlando, and also cloned around the world with that fantastic layout. However, this one is going to be custom designed to fit the site formerly occupied by Sand Serpent, the mock wild mouse that was closed and demolished earlier this year, and Phoenix, where obviously the name is coming from, a Intamin looping starship, one of the last of its kind that unfortunately closed many years ago and then was finally demolished earlier this year. So we knew this plot of land was definitely ready for development. It could go also into the savannah a little bit, and it seems like it might. The concept art only really shows us the station area with a few helixes, a fantastic overbank that's going to go right over the entranceway, which will have that cool Phoenix logo, maybe some fire on the columns, and the whole area is definitely themed to match the Pantopia area, which it is in. So it's nice to see that they have not cheaped out, which the SeaWorld parks have been famous for over the last 5 years or so, and gone all out with matching the area. Hopefully that will continue a little bit on the ride experience. That will actually have onboard audio, so that will be a first for Busch Gardens Tampa Bay. And at the time of this video, no height was actually given, but I can imagine it's going to be somewhere between 60 and 80 feet tall. It will have a top speed of 44 miles per hour and a track length of 1,831 feet, making it over 500 feet longer than Freedom Flyer. So that gives you a good idea of how long this coaster is going to be experience-wise. And most importantly, this coaster will have a 42 height requirement, as will Penguin Trek. So a great addition to this park that kind of needs another family coaster, as the only other one they really have is Cobra's Curse. And then they do have Scorpion, which is a very tame looping coaster right across the way in the Pantopia area, which height was actually recently increased due to a little bit of a social media incident that happened. So that's unfortunate. And then, of course, they do have the Grover coaster for the little kids, but this should fit in really well. It should be a great step up for kids to get ready for Montu, as it will look very similar, down to the track color, which will be a dark blue with light supports, and then yellow and orange trains that look very similar to what we saw in China. The closest thing that you can really make a comparison to, I would say, is Banshee, especially with the restraints. It's going to be basically the Banshee restraint, just without the vest portion. So just kind of a lap bar that comes down. So it should be very comfortable. And then below the trains, on the other side of each seat, looks like there'll be a little spotlight LED type thing. I actually got to see at Monster at Grunland earlier this year, and it looked fantastic. So I'm glad to see that. And then, of course, as we said, it looks great with the station area, that it's all themed to match the Pantopia area. So I'm excited for that. It looks like it has a few helixes at the end, a nice overbank right over the entrance area. We don't know about the first drop or the lift hill, because that is the only piece of concept art that I've been showing you for way too long that we have. So we do know that it'll be 2 across, 10 cars, so 20 riders, and most likely, like the ones in China, it will only have 1 train. So it could be a little bit of a long wait, but shouldn't be too bad with 20 riders per cycle. So construction should be starting pretty soon, although I would imagine this one could be midsummer, as all we have is dirt at this point. And no track or supports have arrived on site quite yet. So moving over to Penguin Trek at SeaWorld Orlando. Once again, 42-inch height requirement to allow little kids to be able to ride this. As little as 4 years old, more or less. So that is just going to be a great spot in the lineup of SeaWorld Orlando. That's very heavy on the 54-inch height requirements. You have Icebreaker, that's 48, but that is a very intense coaster for little kids for sure. And then you have Journey to Atlantis and the Sesame Street coaster as well. But for families who are taking a break from Disney World to come over to SeaWorld to see all the exhibits, for the kids to only have Sesame Street Land that they're going to age out of after 5 or 6 years old, is quite a jump up to the big coasters. So this is something that really needs to fill that gap. And I've been saying it for a few years now that this park definitely needed a family coaster. And I can't be happier to see one installed here at SeaWorld Orlando. Now, we need to talk about where this is going and why it's going, where it is. Construction has been underway for a while now, and I was at the park about 2 weeks ago to capture some images of the groundwork taking place around the Antarctica area, because the coaster will be located outside and also inside the building of the former dark ride Antarctica Emperor of the Penguin. That was built back in 2013, and it was a revolutionary trackless dark ride that had its budget cut, so it had a lot of ambitions. Unfortunately, it came to a very uninspiring dark ride with a cute story and an excellent penguin enclosure, but that was about it. And fortunately, it seems like that penguin enclosure should be open throughout most of the construction progress with rerouted access. So fortunately, that dark ride actually closed in 2020. It was rumored that during that great shutdown that they forgot to plug in the vehicles, and once the batteries drained all the way to zero, with that type of batteries, it can't be recharged again, and they were worthless, and they didn't want to put the money into it, which is probably the right move, considering that it was not very good. So we can now fast forward to what this is going to be. It's going to be a prototype. It's going to have 9 rows, 2 across seating, and then it's going to have 18 seats, of course. And it seems like it could have seats that are similar to what Pipeline does, and they can actually bounce up and down and have a little bit of a shock absorber. We saw patents from B&M at one point, so it's possible that they'll have that. If not, it's going to have a very similar restraint and setup as to what like Velocicoaster has, and a lot of the Intamin, Vekoma, Mach coasters have these days with the lap bar setup and seat. It almost looks identical, really. It's just a very comfortable design for both looping family coasters and everything in between, and very versatile. So it's great to see that B&M is going with that. It would be great to see this on some of their looping coasters in the future, hopefully, maybe. But that's a hope of mine. Regardless, the experience is obviously going to start inside of the fantastic Antarctic area. Nothing needed to be changed there. And once you enter in, it's going to be kind of like a expedition leading up to the station. And then once you're in the station, that is, of course, themed to that observatory research base. And then before that launch, you're going to have a bunch of dark ride scenes. So it's great to see that the theming is going to continue inside and that they're actually going to spend some money. So it looks like a complete experience. It doesn't seem like they did much for their straddle coaster in SeaWorld San Diego last year, so that's a shame, and I'm really happy that they have decided to make it a whole experience instead of just a coaster. But once you go through all those dark ride scenes, it's going to have a launch. We've known the layout for a while due to our friends over at themeparkfans.net that seem to leak pretty much every SeaWorld project except for Phoenix Rising. I probably should have a bunch of helixes, hills, a little bit of bear time probably, ground hugging, very low. It's not going to be a very tall coaster. I imagine it's not going to go above 40 feet. No height was given at this point of how tall it's going to be. And then it is going to be 43 miles per hour. And it's going to be 3,020 feet long, so very long actually for a family coaster. So both of these coasters are going to have a good duration, so you're not going to feel like it's over before it starts. So that's about it for that coaster. Once again, I say that this is just something this park needed so badly. So it's great to see it, and the only other thing we need to question is why? Why is SeaWorld buying from Bolliger and Maviard? And my only thing I can think of, besides the obvious, is that B&M coasters are very well built. They do not break down very often. They're easy to maintain. They have great support, but they are extremely expensive. I imagine both of these coasters, if they had gone to Intamin or Vekoma and bought something very similar, that it would be 50% less, maybe. That's just a guess. Definitely a lot less than what you would get. And the Vekoma product is really fun. I do like the way it can swing around, and you do feel that even though it's very slight, whereas Phoenix Rising will have that rigid body, so it's going to feel more like Montu. Another thing is B&M really wants to get into this market. It's huge. You sell way more family coasters than extreme coasters. Now, are they as large a project? No. But if you can sell a lot of them, they could do pretty well and definitely keep themselves busy, which is something they have been struggling a little bit, it seems like, especially in the United States and Europe. China, it seems like there's something being built every month, but over here in the United States, we have really not seen that many B&Ms in the last 10 years. It's definitely died down, especially with Six Flags not building them like they were. It's very strange, but it still makes sense at the same time. Obviously, both parks love B&Ms. This will be Tampa's 4th B&M, and this will be SeaWorld Orlando's 5th B&M for a total of 9 different coasters and the model type not repeating once. So you pretty much have the entire catalog in Central Florida of B&M products. Then really quickly, because it doesn't really deserve an entire video, let's talk about the Loch Ness Monster at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. It will be closing on November 5th for the season, and over 900 feet of track are going to be replaced. So obviously Busch Gardens Williamsburg is dedicated to keeping Nessie alive. It is its 46th year of operation this year, so it definitely has the miles, and it definitely is going to be reserved for the future, which how can you not? Loch Ness Monster is so iconic. As far as the Aero Looper goes, it's very, very smooth, except for one little place, leaving the first turnaround into that second drop. If there's anywhere that they can do a little bit of adjustment to the profiling, that's the only one place. Other than that, please leave it exactly as is. I love the intense G-forces. I love the abrupt airtime on that second hill. I love everything about it, but it has been getting rougher over the years. Just going through the valleys, you can just feel the track is very pitted and worn, and it needs some replacement. So it's great to see that they're going to be spending money on it. And also they're going to have a new soundtrack. I imagine that's going to be in the station and maybe on Lift Hill. Definitely not going to be on board, as the trains are only like 5 years old, despite them looking like the old trains, since they bought pretty much old Aero trains instead of going with a more modern restraint and design. I still don't understand why they did that, but regardless, Loch Ness Monster is here to stay, and I'm happy to see it. And we actually should be probably going that final weekend, so that's great to see that coaster will be operational for our visit. So that's it. Thanks for watching The Coaster Spot. This has been Alex. Like, comment, and subscribe, because we're going to do many more news articles, tours, and vlogs coming very soon. See ya.